You're raising that's my money though.
Excuse me?
It's not your money.
No.
Yes, it's the school.
okay.
No.
So-
Please stop interrupting or we'll stop answering questions.
I think we just need to stop answering questions.
Okay.
Stop, stop.
Okay, we're gonna pull it back up to the board and we're gonna have our final board discussion on this item. And then we will move forward on with our agenda, so.
Okay.
Clearly, we need people to adhere to the rules that we set, and if they don't, we're going to move forward with
I
our
would
business.
like to answer this question about,
Go ahead.
it's an over-projection penalty in the Prop 39 regulations, which is an incentive for charter schools not to over-project. If they do over-project and they don't make their target, when ours was 181.88 for last year, if they don't make it, there's a penalty laid out in the regulations.
And so that's payable back to the district?
Yeah.
How much is, I didn't see it in the.
You know, we're,
Less than ADA.
whether it ends up being paid or not's another question, but in terms of the budgeting, for the budgeting of it, we are budgeting 150,000.
About 2,000 per kid.
That's about 75 ADA.
Okay. But you're saying it may not be paid?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's gonna be paid, I'm just saying we're budgeting for it. That's what this statement is, it's a budget item.
Okay.
All right,
So in other words, Con, you're saying the plan is we're paying that amount of money.
Well, we are budgeting for it,
budget.
because it's a worst-case scenario, and we can't not budget for it. Whether we end up, what ends up happening, we'll see. But,
We have planned accordingly.
yes.
And
Okay.
what's the final trigger that determines whether it's owed or not? From your reporting perspective?
I'm just saying, you can go look at the regulations, and you can see what it says, or you can read our Prop 39, our facilities use agreement with the district, you can see what it says. It's all laid out.
It's the enrollment as of a specific date called P2, which is
Okay.
March 31st.
Okay.
Right.
So our average in-district ADA is of March 31st.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to see if there are any other questions at the board level regarding the budget revision and financials. Seeing no one, is there a motion for approval?
I move to approve the budget.
Second.
Okay. So John and Chris, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Our next item on our agenda is our LCAP development process and the development timeline. And I believe you are presenting that?
Yep,
Okay.
so which is somewhat related to the budget. Basically, just kind of do a brief recap of the LCAP. A few years ago, Jerry Brown and Co. decided to redo how schools are funded in California, and I think for the better. And really giving schools and school districts more leeway in how to spend the money. With that comes the responsibility of school districts, and we are a school district in and of ourselves, according to the state of California, that we have to have a plan for how we would spend this money and have it be aligned with state priorities. So just at the basic level, for most school districts, that there's a per student base amount. And that changes for grade levels and stuff like that, but as a charter school, it's slightly different for us. But really what this plan is there's a few steps that we need to take, because it's really a public plan in with our school and our parent body, that there needs to be involvement for good reason with our parents and how this money is spent. So last year we had a plan drafted, and I'll share what some of the three main goals are from that plan from last year. this year, we're drafting a plan and we're following this public process. And doing so with input from our parent community and our board. So it just goes through these steps of the process, and then in the end, it has to be approved by the board, and then it goes on to the state. There are goals and actions related to specific targets, and there's a related budget for these. There's also, every major student group has to be identified, so it has to be goals for those groups, so EL, English language learners, low-income students, students with disabilities, etc. And then there are these 8 student priorities that the state says we have to focus on. So these are the focus areas that the state wants us, or the values that the state wants us to align our plan with. One is student achievement. And some of these things have changed because there's API is on the way out. It is out. Student engagement, so attendance rates and stuff like that. You get dropout rates get counted when it becomes middle school and high school. There's other outcomes related to other types of examinations and the like. School climate, parent involvement, and another one. Basic services, so if teachers are misassigned, so if they're not, credentialed for their position. Implementation of the Common Core state standards, and course access, making sure that students have access to a full curriculum. So again, these are broadly for K and middle and high school, so there's some things that align better with elementary schools. Like the dropout rate doesn't really count for us. So really there are 3 buckets. One's conditions of learning. So making sure that we have a school in good standing order. We have highly qualified teachers. We have materials that are aligned with state standards, and that they're getting all the subject areas as required by the state. The next bucket is student outcomes, so performance on standardized tests is looked at by the state. Looking at students who are college and career ready, again, that is more in line with middle school and high school, but that's also part of our job is to get kids ready for middle school. English learner classification rate, and there's another agenda item where we're going to talk about reclassification of English language learners. Pass rate on advanced placement exams doesn't apply to us because thankfully 3rd graders don't take advanced placement exams as a former advanced placement teacher. Student outcomes in all core curriculum areas. And then the last is engagement, which is attendance rates, suspensions and expulsions, which we have none so far. Parent involvement in decision making and promoting parent participation, and school safety and student connectedness. And the document itself is fairly long. It's a public document. You can look at this document for any public school in California. But in ours, we had these 3 main goals to align with the standards for this year. And so we're going to be talking about how we want our plan for developing our LCAP for next year. And part of that is evaluating these goals and seeing if they're continue to be appropriate or if we need to adapt them and make them more rigorous and different. So our first goal is all students, including subgroups, so that's like English language learners, special education students, and the like. We'll have access to instructional material aligned with the Common Core state standards. There are sub-action areas that EL students performing comparable rates of proficiency on the CASP tests as the Ross Valley School District. English language learners, 100% of students, including all the subgroup students, like English language learners, have access to instructional materials aligned with the Common Core state standards. And all of our teachers are receiving training and best practices to improve English language proficiency. Ms. Chris is gonna be talking about that tomorrow at our staff meeting. Our second goal is parents being an integral part of the RVC community. I think we've done this with flying colors this year so far. That they're gonna participate in the governance and operation of the school, and that they will view RVC as receptive to their input. So there are 3 action areas that at least 4 parents will serve on the leadership council, which we definitely have more than 4, which for others to understand what a leadership council, that's like our version of school site council. At least 2 parents will serve on the governing board. We have that. At least 80% of the California School Parent Survey respondents agree or strongly agree that RVC welcomes parents' contributions and actively seeks the input of parents before making informed decisions, and that the survey will conduct before the end of the school year. And our third goal is students will become proficient readers and writers of the English language, as well as proficient mathematicians. And our specific action area for this is 80% or more of all students, including all subgroups, demonstrate at least 1 year of growth on English language arts and math portions of the state test. So basically from last year to this year and this year to next, that there would be moving a year. So if they're at the 4th grade level, that they'd move up to the 5th grade level. So really what's next for us, besides fulfilling that plan for this year, is developing our plan for next year. And what the state wants, and I think for good reason, is to have a process laid out that has plenty of our community involvement and allows for back and forth and revision. So it started last week when it was presented to our leadership council. I did a slightly longer version of this to the leadership council to give them the details of what the LCAP was about. Today we're looking at the current year LCAP and considering this plan for development of the 2018 plan. So this is open to be changed by you all. I'm suggesting that we have our teaching staff reviewing the LCAP in an upcoming teacher meeting and provide suggestions for the upcoming school year.